The Giants and Cowboys wrap up the 2025 season with nothing to play for except for one thing. Crossover Thursday starts right now.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Hello, everybody. Welcome on into Crossover Thursday. Locked On Giants, Locked On Cowboys, the final Crossover Thursday for the season for both of these teams. My name is Patricia Traina, host of Locked On Giants, and I am with Marcus Mosher, co-host of Locked On Cowboys. And Marcus, first off, Happy New Year. Good to see you, as always.
Same to you.
And second off, thank goodness this is the end for both of these teams this season. It has been a really, really rough campaign for both the Giants and the Cowboys, who basically don't have a whole lot to play for except for one little thing, which we'll talk about to start off with key storylines in the first segment. Then we'll take a look at the matchups, and then we'll talk about keys to victory because, look, I think this game is probably a little bit more important to the Cowboys than it is to the Giants just because of draft implications. So that said, Marcus, let's get right into it. What's going on in the land of the Cowboys?
Yeah, so this is a big game for them because Brian Schottenheimer is trying to get to 500 on the year. They can still get to 8-1, and that's the Cowboys' goal. They want to win these games. Jerry Jones wants to win these games. Dak Prescott has said that he wants to play in this game. He's got this reputation of beating up on the NFC East teams, and I think you would like that to continue. But then there's the fan side of this where they're looking at the draft pick order, and with a win on Sunday, Patricia, the Cowboys could theoretically draft at 18, which is the spot you don't want to be in. It's the last spot of the best record of the teams that don't make the playoffs. But with a loss, they could go up as high as 11 or pick 12. In terms of value in like historical differences, you're getting a much different quality of player at pick 11 or 12 than you are at 18. And for the Cowboys that need a lot of help on defense, that could be a big deal. Also, it doesn't hurt to maybe drop the Giants down from pick 2 to pick, 5, 6, or 7, right? It would be nice if the Giants, after this really bad season, they don't even earn a top 5 pick. But you have these conflicting forces of, hey, we're trying to win, but we're also trying to look out for our long-term health as well.
Yeah, I don't think Giant fans are going to really appreciate you saying it would help to drop them down in the draft order. That, of course, is the number one story for the New York Giants. I mean, the players and the coaches, they'll tell you it's about pride. We're playing to win. They're going to play all their starters this week, including Jaxson Dart. Anybody who's healthy is going to play in this game. But from the Giants fans' perspective, the Giants need to lose this game if they are to have a shot at the number one overall pick. Now, last week, the Giants beating the Raiders, they lost control of that number one pick. So now the scenario, as I understand it, it's a 2-horse race between the Giants and the Raiders for the number one pick. That thanks to the Atlanta game, the outcome of the Atlanta game the other night. So now it's like the Giants have to lose and the Raiders have to beat the Chiefs, which is not impossible. The Chiefs, they're on their third quarterback, so it's not impossible, but I think it's probably a long shot, to be honest with you. And I do think when it's all said and done, the Giants will probably have that number 2 pick. Not a bad spot to be in, to be honest with you, but ideally you'd like to be at number 1 because now you can control the board. Now you can get a bigger haul of draft picks if you want to trade down. So from the Giant fan perspective, from most of the fans' perspective, that's the big storyline everybody's going to be looking at. Now, there are some people who are just like, let's just beat the Cowboys because they're the Cowboys. Dak Prescott has never, I don't think he's ever lost to the Giants. If I'm not
since
mistaken.
His rookie year. He lost
not since his rookie year.
Twice in 2016, but he has not lost since.
Exactly. And, the Giants, to keep on getting swept by the Cowboys year in and year out just doesn't sit well. I think inside 1925 Giants drive, it doesn't sit well with a lot of Giant fans.
And the other thing, Patricia, is I mean, again, tell me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the Raiders situation and the Giants situation is different because you have your quarterback already in Jaxson Dart. So if he goes out and plays an awesome game and he continues to develop, that's great. That's no big deal. But like for the Raiders, you've got a 34-year-old Geno Smith who's throwing to Tyler Lockett. Like winning this game, like last week, winning that game would have meant nothing for their long-term health. For at least the Giants, you could talk yourself into, well, we don't need a quarterback. It's not that big of a deal from picks 2 to pick 6. And for the Cowboys, it's kind of similar, right? It's, hey, you've got your quarterback, you've got your receivers, you've got your offensive line. The difference in picking 12 compared to like 18 isn't that great in the grand scheme of things, but nobody's going to remember or care 4 weeks from now if the Cowboys beat the Giants. Like, you're not going to build a culture and build a winning program by winning a meaningless Week 18 game against the New York Giants. Where it is going to matter is you get into the draft and, hey, maybe that top safety falls to you at 12, but there's no way he makes it to you at 18. It's why I think we're going to get some really funky lineups this week. I expect Dak Prescott to play. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Milton plays some. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys are playing a bunch of young players. And I think all of that's going to lead to some really bad football on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, but again, it's the last game of the season for both teams. Disappointing seasons for both teams. And the Giants, look, after this game, you're going to see a new coaching staff come in. I don't think Mike Kafka, who probably will get a courtesy interview, I don't think he's going to be the guy moving forward. Mike is going to be a great head coach one day for a team, probably not with the Giants. And now, once that the final, clock reads 0-0 in the fourth quarter, hopefully it doesn't go into overtime. But once we hit 0-0, the watch is going to be on as to who the next head coach is going to be of the New York Giants. And what's interesting is some of the candidates that have been mentioned for the Giants, their teams are going to the postseason. So we probably won't know who's going to be the head coach, assuming that they're going to stick within the NFL community and not go outside the college. So we won't know probably for a few weeks, but it'll be interesting to see as we go along what the Giants do and what direction they go.
On the same side for the Cowboys, like it's all but certain that that Matt Eberflus, the Cowboys defensive coordinator, is going to be let go probably on Monday or Tuesday. So they're going to be in the defensive coordinator market. Are they waiting for some of these coaches who are in the playoffs, moving forward? Are they going to try to scoop up someone like Brian Flores, whose contract has expired? We'll see. But the Cowboys and the Giants are both going to be in the coaching market in the next couple of days.
Well, I mean, I can recommend somebody for the Cowboys. I hear Shane Bowen doesn't have a job right now.
No, thank you.
I know, that's mean. I'm sorry. I apologize. All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the matchups in this game. As Marcus said, it's probably going to be a lot of funky stuff that we're going to see, but we'll break that all down for you coming up right after this. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends Advanced Tools. Or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All right, everybody, welcome back to Crossover Thursday. Locked on Cowboys, Locked on Giants. The New York Giants host the Dallas Cowboys at MetLife Stadium. Kickoff is Sunday, 1 o'clock, and it is the final game of the season for both teams. Very disappointing seasons for both teams. And Marcus alluded to it earlier in the program that we might see a bunch of funky looking stuff. as far as matchups and lineups and whatnot. So, Marcus, let's start with the Cowboys and what you're looking for.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of change on offense, and let's go through some of it. We already mentioned Dak Prescott. He is going to start in this game, but I would not be surprised if Joe Milton plays some. The Cowboys traded a day 3 pick for him. He's only got to play a little bit this season. This feels like a really good opportunity to give him maybe not the whole game, but maybe give him a quarter and a half, just to play a little bit and see what he looks like. I think the other thing here is probably no Jake Ferguson as he deals with a calf injury. Javonte Williams, who's been a revelation for the Cowboys, he's dealing with a shoulder injury. I mean, Patricia, what's the point in playing these guys that are banged up? I mean, I know the entire NFL is banged up, but these guys have like legitimate injuries. Don't risk them in a meaningless game. So I would expect both of those guys to be out. So how can the Cowboys generate offense with their starting running back out? Maybe we'll see Jaden Blue, who the Cowboys drafted in the 5th round. He's been a healthy scratch for the last 2 months. This is going to be a makeshift offense for the Cowboys. I wouldn't even be surprised if they pull a couple of offensive line starters, but I want to see what this offense can do if Dak Prescott, if Jake Ferguson and Javonte Williams are out of the lineup.
Yeah, I would think that if Dak Prescott is going to play, they probably won't pull offensive linemen unless they just can't.
Not in the first half, at least. And then I think if you see Milton in the game, that's when I would expect the offensive line to be pulled back.
Gotcha. So from the Giants' perspective, look, I mean, the defense has been playing well of late, ever since they got rid of Shane Bowen and they promoted Charlie Bolin to defensive coordinator. And I did a show on that actually yesterday, how the Giants defense in some of the major statistical categories have actually gone to the top half or the top 10 of the NFL. So I think a big matchup for this one is going to be that pass rush against the Cowboys offensive line and against Dak Prescott. Now, Prescott, as we know, does not like to get hit. He does not like to be rushed. No quarterback really does. The Giants' pass rush of late has been pretty active. So that's going to be something I'm going to be looking for from this game. Can they harass Dak Prescott, force him to make a few mistakes? Now, what's interesting about the Giants is the back end of the defense, which has been okay once they have all the starters in. Now, last week, they did not have Cordell Flott, who's dealing with a knee injury. So if Deonte Banks gets the call, good luck to the Giants, because Deonte Banks on defense has just been absolutely horrible. They also might not have Javon Holland, their starting safety, in the lineup. So again, we could be looking at a situation where one half of the Giants' starting defensive secondary doesn't play, which is not going to be a good thing against, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys and those receivers.
Yeah, and we'll see what the Cowboys offense does and how aggressive they are in this game. I got to believe, Patricia, like even if Dak plays, you're not going to see a game where they drop back to throw the ball 40 times like they did in week 2. Like I think you're going to see a very conservative game plan, and maybe this game gets over fast because both teams are trying to run the ball and get the season over with. But I'm more fascinated on defense. This is a Jaxson Dart who's developing, who's going to be playing, I would assume, the entire game. What does the Cowboys defense look like in this one? Does Quinnen Williams play, who's dealing with a neck injury? Does DeMarvion Overshown play, who's dealing with a concussion right now? Does Trayvon Diggs, who has battled a knee injury all year, does he play in this game? The Cowboys have already been really bad on defense. And if you take away guys like Quinnen Williams and DeMarvion Overshown and maybe a Jadeveon Clowney, just how bad might it get? I think the Giants have every incentive in the world to go out and let Jaxson Dart play, throw the ball all over the field. And also, this could be a confidence booster. Almost every quarterback who has played the Cowboys this year has set like a season high in terms of passing yards and touchdowns and passer rating. It would be nice to see Jaxson Dart go into the season with one more big game. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys put the personnel out on the field that allows that to happen.
And to your point about Jaxson Dart, he's also been a threat as a runner.
Yeah.
You mentioned the running game. So now that is something that, the Cowboys have to look out for. And, speaking of the running game, just to kind of flip that around a little bit, the Giants' run defense, which has been kind of bad all year long, has actually been a little bit better moving forward these last few games. So I'm curious to see how they stack up. Should the Cowboys maybe go into that conservative game plan where they're just going to run the ball and, just try and pound the Giants down into submission.
Yeah, and again, without Javonte Williams, they're going to lean a lot more on Malik Davis, who had his first career 100-yard rushing game. But I was against a Washington team that was down several defensive linemen. Does that carry over this week? I would assume Davis is going to be the starter. Maybe we'll see more of Jaden Blue. Phil Maffa is a running back that the Cowboys have yet to activate this year off the injured reserve list. I would expect him maybe to get some run. Expect the Cowboys to try to test that Giants defensive line early and often.
Yeah, I mean, Dexter Lawrence has been kind of quiet all year long, although the last couple of games he's kind of come alive a little bit. He's dealing with that injured elbow that I don't know if he's going to need surgery for that moving forward. But, and then the young pup that they drafted, Darius Alexander, he's been coming on the last few weeks. But so that'll be certainly interesting to see. And then, also from the Giants' perspective, the offensive line, it's missing two starters. We need to talk about that. It's missing Andrew Thomas, the left tackle, who's on IR, the center, John Michael Schmitz, who was on IR. Thomas was really, the glue that held that offensive line together. So this could be an opportunity for the Cowboys to maybe exploit the rookie that they have there, Marcus Bowe, and maybe put a little pressure on Jaxson Dart and batter him around a little bit.
I doubt it. I mean, the Cowboys have played some pretty bad offensive lines this year with a lot of injuries, including the Chargers a couple weeks ago. They were down to like their 6th and 7th tackle, and they hit Justin Herbert one time. So probably not. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the games where Jaxson Dart has the most time in the pocket to be able to throw. I think the concern, if you're a Giants fan, is the Cowboys do have a really good interior defensive line with Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams. Again, we'll see on his status, Osa Digizua. But in terms of edge pressure, I would be shocked if the Cowboys got any this week. They're just in a really bad spot with their defensive ends right now. And it's not going to get fixed until we get to the offseason.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's any consolation for Cowboy fans, the Giants have served as a get-right team for a lot of opponents.
So is this like the movable object versus the stoppable force kind of thing for the Cowboys and the Giants?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, look, I will say this about the Giants. They have played hard. They have not quit. You could say at this point of the season with nothing to play for, the Giants, they've come to play. They have pride on the line. Some guys have contract incentives that they want to, hit, obviously. So nobody is slowed down. And,
and we should mention, like, we kind of want our teams to lose for our selfish reasons, right, of having higher draft picks. The players don't think that way, because these players they don't want to put bad tape, on film. They're trying to hit incentives for contract stuff. Some of these guys are going to be free agents. Like I'm looking at like Jadeveon Clowney. If you add another sack or sack and a half, maybe that's an extra $1 million that you get on the open market. So the guys that are on the field are going to play really hard. I think from the front office and coaching perspective, maybe you make sure that the guys that are actually going to help you win don't play as many snaps. But that's kind of what we're rooting for. We're rooting for our teams to lose. We're not rooting for the guys out there to play bad, though.
To your point, though, about the coaching staff, I mean, from the Giants' perspective, like I said, Mike Kafka wants to eventually be a head coach somewhere. Correct. So I don't think he's going to be conservative in any stretch of by any stretch of the imagination. I think, the game plan that they're going to put out, they're going to look to just shred the Cowboys defense. Right. Like you said, the Cowboys defense has been a problem all year long. The Giants, even though they don't have Malik Neighbors, their number one receiver right now is Wan'Dale Robinson, all 5'8" of him, just hit 1,000 yards receiving. But beyond that, Giants don't have a whole lot of weapons. Now, maybe they'll get Theo Johnson, their tight end, back. He missed last week's game with an illness. So maybe they can, work him into the mix. But basically, the Giants on offense right now, I don't know that you can say that they have anybody amongst the skill position players that is going to scare anybody.
But I'm not sure there's a defensive back in the Cowboys, especially with Deron Bland out with a foot injury, that can even stop them. So it's a really weird matchup going into Week 18. But this is Week 18 across the league. This is not exclusive to just the Cowboys and the Giants here. There's going to be some really bad football being played all weekend. We should just get used to it.
Too bad. Maybe come next year we'll be talking in Week 18 about playoff position. Wouldn't that be nice, right?
We'll see.
All right. Coming up next, folks, we're going to talk about the keys to victory. Somebody's got to win this game. I mean, unless it ends in a tie, wouldn't that be a kick in the head, right?
No, thanks.
All right. Well, we'll break that down for you right after this. This episode of Crossover Thursday is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes, it's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the fun places to make the right call is at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2-player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. You can choose from a huge range of unique stats, such as fantasy scores, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. The early payout feature is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. And the new stacks feature lets you choose the same player up to 3 times in one lineup, like more on a quarterback's passing yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, everybody, welcome back to Crossover Thursday. Locked on Giants, Locked on Cowboys. I'm Patricia, Traina of Locked on Giants. He is Marcus Mosher of Locked on Cowboys. And for those of you who are everydayers, you listen to the Locked on Giants podcast every day or the Locked on Cowboys podcast every day, we have a brand new club called the Everydayer Club. You'll want to check it out. There's a lot of great perks for the Locked on Giants crew. You can choose from 2 levels of access. Cowboys, I think do you have 2 levels of access too?
Yep.
You've got 2. Okay, so a lot of great stuff. You can text with us. You can get exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. I mean, we have a Discord channel, which is great. We've got we're building up our NFC East trash talk area of that pod. Of that
we just can't trash talk right now, you and I, but we'll get there eventually.
Yes, exactly. But it's going to be interesting come next year when we will all be able to trash talk. So if you want information on that, you'll want to hit lockedonpodcast.com. And at the top, it'll say Everydayer. So that full URL is lockedonpodcast.com/everydayerclub. And just, scroll down till you find the appropriate club that you want to join. So we hope you will check that out. All right. In this segment, keys to victory. I know a lot of people, again, are like, who cares? Just lose, go home, get this, at least from the Giants' perspective, I guess from the Cowboys' perspective. But Marcus, what is the key to victory for the Cowboys?
I almost feel like we should do this backwards. Like I'll do the key to victories for the Giants since we're rooting for the other team. But for the Cowboys, it's honestly just stay healthy. That's not a key to victory, but what you don't want to have happen is to suffer a big injury in week 18 that's going to affect 2026. And the Cowboys had several of them last year that kind of had a dark cloud over them, whether it was Dak Prescott's hamstring injury, DeMarvion Overshown's knee injury, Trayvon Diggs' knee injury, and it just put their whole season kind of on pause. So you want to stay healthy. You also just want to play some good football to end the year. Make tackles, don't fumble the ball, don't have a bunch of penalties. You want to leave the season having a kind of a good taste in your mouth, even if you lose. And then the last thing for the Cowboys is I just want to see somebody on defense step up and make a play. They've gone a couple weeks without turnovers. We talked about the lack of pass rush. Maybe someone like Donovan Ezeraku can create some pressures, turn those into sacks. If you can create some turnovers in this game, I think you're going to win. But I think the most important thing is staying healthy. You're not going to win a Super Bowl this year, but you can actually lose one next year if you have some big injuries. We don't want to see that happen.
Ditto for the Giants, but I'm also going to add a couple of things for those, who are holding out hope that the Giants win this game, because again, it is the Cowboys, and next to a win over the Philadelphia Eagles, there's probably no satisfying win for Giant fans than a win over the Cowboys. The Giants got to stop hurting themselves with penalties. Now, last week against Raiders, excuse me, they had a couple of false starts that blew up a drive. You can't have that. You cannot have that. They got away with it last week, but all season long, they've had that situation where pre-snap penalties have come back to bite them, mistakes like drops. You got to play as clean of a game as possible. This is the last game of the season. Future jobs are on the line. Like you said, free agent contracts are on the line. Play a clean game. The Giants, very rarely this year have played a clean game in those areas. And that's where it's got to start, I think, number one. Number two, in terms of beating the Cowboys, like I said, get that pass rush, which has been kind of, I'll say a little bit more than lukewarm. I won't say they've been red hot, but they've been active. Get after Dak Prescott. Don't give him any time to hit his receivers down the field. If assuming Dak plays, which I think he's going to, and just, be aggressive. Let it all hang out. I mean, you've got nothing to lose. You're going home after this year or after this game. Just put it all out there on the field. Don't leave anything to, behind.
Well, I was going to say, Patricia, we've seen in the last couple of weeks, Brian Schottenheimer be more aggressive on like fourth down. Because why not? Like it's not going to hurt you to punt the ball or to go for it on fourth down, not get it. We don't want to see a bunch of punts in this game. So it's probably not going to be very good football. At least make it exciting. Be aggressive. Try some things out because there's nothing to lose here.
Exactly. The only thing to lose is your job from the Giants' perspective, when the new coach comes in and looks at the tape and says, what was that? So I expect the Giants and Cowboys to really go at it because they always do. It doesn't matter what the records are. The two teams, they don't like each other. They're division rivals. There's a sense of pride for the Cowboys every time they whoop up on the Giants, especially at MetLife Stadium. And by the way, I'm going to be curious to see how the stadium crowd looks. Is it going to be mostly Cowboy fans or Giant fans, or is it just going to be empty?
I was going to say, will there be fans there? I think that's the part of it. One more thing, Patricia. We know that MetLife Field is notorious for being like one of the worst fields in the NFL. I wonder if that will factor into some of the decisions here. Like, I get wanting to start Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but why expose them on a field that has had a bunch of big injuries? Why not? It's just, I can't understand the reward versus the risk here.
Well, again, it depends on how badly they want to beat the Giants. They have a chance to sweep them again. That first game was very close, and the Giants, they're coming out to play. I mean, Mike Kafka is not sitting anybody down unless they can't play because of medical reasons. So, I could see a situation. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I could see a situation where the Giants just beat up on the Cowboys, which I know will not make a lot of fans who are hoping for that number one draft pick happy. But the Giant players, they've said it. They made it very clear. Mike Kafka has made it very clear. We don't care about that. We care about winning. So that's what it's going to boil down to for these two teams as they close out a disappointing 2025 season for each of them. So, Marcus, I mean, what can I say, my friend? It's been an interesting year. Always good to see you on these crossover shows. And hopefully next year when we do these, we'll be talking about playoffs. Wouldn't that be nice?
I just hope that we have some renewed optimism about our franchises when we talk in September, October. The Cowboys and Giants usually play pretty early in the season. Wouldn't be shocked if we're playing in week one again. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah, definitely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Crossover Thursday, Locked On Cowboys, Locked On Giants. Do make sure you check out our respective shows. We're going to continue to bring you shows 5 days a week because even though our seasons end on Sunday, going to be a lot to talk about between the Cowboys search for a new defensive coordinator, the Giants coaching search, free agency, the draft. We'll have it all for you on our respective shows. So do check us out. For your next listen, check out Locked On NFL, which is also available 5 days a week. They do a great job over there. And look, we want to thank you for joining us on these Crossover Thursday programs. I know for the Giants perspective, it wasn't always easy. And a lot of people are like, well, who cares after the Giants were eliminated? But look, we appreciate you all the same. Same to the Cowboys fans and to everybody out there. A very happy and healthy new year. We hope that 2026 is a good one for you and a good one for our respective football teams. For Marcus Mosher, I'm Patricia Traina. Thank you, and we'll see you on our shows tomorrow.